Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl V-Mat. I'm recording live from Paris. Hello! Right, these are my three musketeer kitties and we're all on holiday together, and today we're going to be talking about how to do what you like. Before we get into it, if this is your first time, welcome to my channel. Remember to subscribe. If this is not your first time, turn the notification on. And you guys, as you know, follow me on Instagram at VMAT for regular updates whilst I'm on holiday. And yeah, let's get into it. So guys, today I was chatting to this really lovely guy, Paul. Shout out to Paul. I met him in Paris. He was really sort of welcoming. It was really random. And I tell you how I met him. I was literally dancing on the street. You guys know me. I like to dance, not just for food, but generally. And I met Paul and we started chatting about life in general terms. And we talked about, obviously, I'm a first generation immigrant. We talked about immigration and the impact and how that worked. And we started to talk about people doing the things they love, which is the purpose of this video. And I think we talked about how the culture that we come from, because obviously Paul, like myself, is African. Shout out to the Nigerians out there. He's from Nigeria in West Africa, like myself. And we talked about the culture that we have and how the culture sort of restricts professions. How decades ago, if you told your parents that you were a comedian, it's seen as, are you going nuts? You need to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. And eventually things are evolving and things are getting better and parents are starting to be accepting. And I think interestingly, where we ended up in the conversation was more around people who are now stuck doing things that they don't enjoy, things that they've spent their time training for professions that are seen to be noble in the culture that we come from. And that's because of the pressure from parents. So I, for one, as an example, was eventually, I didn't study medicine eventually, but my parents pressured me and were desperate to have a doctor in the family, and I didn't end up studying medicine or even doing PhD in HR, which is what they wanted me to do. And I was seen as the black sheep. I think it took a couple of years for people to now start to appreciate that me taking on HR as a profession was something that played to my strength, was something that fitted my personality, and something that I genuinely love to do. So if we flip the coin to people who maybe studied medicine, if I had studied medicine because my parents put pressure on me and it was seen as a noble profession in the country where I come from, but I didn't necessarily enjoy it, that would be an average of 7 to 10 years of my life that I've invested studying, and eventually I'm working in a profession that I feel stuck in. And I think we then moved into the conversation around being brave to stand out, to not be the typical doctor, lawyer, engineer. And I know that our current generation are moving towards being fluid and are allowing their children to try out different things. But I guess in the generation that I grew up, in my parents' generation, you didn't have a say, especially if you came from a sheltered home where your parents paid all the bills and they took care of you. You didn't have money. If you were kicked out of the house, you couldn't survive because of the lifestyle that you had, because of your parents, or you couldn't necessarily survive because you couldn't find a job. So as an example, my dad thought I was too young when I was over 21 to find a job, which made it difficult for me to gain my independence. And that was part of the reason why I didn't want to do a PhD, because I wasn't good at research. What am I good at? I'm quite innovative. I like to solve problems. I like to create strategies. I think I'm in my strengths when you tell me there's a problem and nobody seems to have a solution to it, because all I need to do is lock myself in a dark room and think. On the flip side, if you gave me an Excel spreadsheet to deal with, I'll be drained. Like, there'll be no energy. The bubbly personality that I have will be sapped out of me. So when I was talking to Paul, I had this light bulb moment, which was, and this is why I'm sharing it with you. Eventually you're watching this video and you feel like you're stuck in the wrong profession. I just want to say to you, it's never too late. I don't care what age you are. I want to help you make this analysis. So I'm in my mid-30s at the moment. Imagine if I was an architect and I hated architecture, and I'm going to live for the next 40, 50 years, and I decide that I'm stuck in my mid-30s in the wrong profession, the only sensible thing for me to do is start again, because I've got 50 years to actually live the life. But if I get stuck and feel that I can't start again because I'm over a certain age, which is only in my 30s, it just means that I would waste the rest of the 50 years not being the person I was born to be. I've seen people flourish in different professions. I've walked into people who are glass cleaners on the high street in the city in London, and on a Monday morning they have so much energy cleaning the glass. I've seen people who are plumbers, who are decorators, who are hairdressers, who are makeup artists. These are none of the cliche professions that apply to the culture that I come from. But I guess as long as you're getting life out of whatever you're doing on a day-to-day basis, it's better than the money. Right, the money is good, it pays the bills, don't get me wrong. But I guess outside the money, say you win a lottery and you don't need to work, what would you be doing? That's the first place to start. A second and final place I'd like to leave you thinking about this is, if from Monday to Friday, you did all types of your job from Monday to Friday, I want you to think back in the last working week, and ask yourself which aspects of your job gave you energy. Between Monday to Friday, surely you must have had highs and you must have had lows. I want to help you narrow it down. So the bits where you had the highs is the parts that you were created to be, to excel. And if it's out of your job, if it's outside of your job that you got the high from, girl, boy, this is your one opportunity to start to think about how you're going to get into that line, because that's what's going to give you fulfillment outside of the money. So if you look at the 9 to 5 or Monday to Friday, what you've done, and you've narrowed out the bits that gave you energy, that you got excited about. If you then look at the bits that you didn't get excited about, what that means is that's not your area of strength. That's not what gets you up in the morning and gives you some oomph. So I want you to stop for a moment, evaluate those two, split it out, and start from today working towards the things that give you energy. Again, like Paul and I highlighted, if you're a first-generation immigrant like myself, you might not have the privilege of doing the job that you love to do, you want to do, you were created to do. But boy, whatever you're doing today is only temporal, because whatever you're created to do should be your end goal. And what you want to do is have it at the back of your mind, and you start to work towards meeting the right people, studying the right materials that will give you information on how to get into that profession or that job or that city or that country that will help you blossom. I'll tell you one thing you find out. The moment you start to consider the things that give you joy, that give you energy, those things will start to gravitate towards you. I tell you that because I know it. A typical example is I never drove a white car, never owned a white car, never thought a white car was even a thing that could hang in my garage. But from the first day we owned a white car, I started to see white cars. I started to know a lot about white cars. I started to appreciate white cars because my focus is now on the white car that I see in my garage every day, which means I now know that there were white cars. Before then, if you ask me how many people had a white car in my street, I didn't know because I wasn't looking out for them. That same principle applies if you start to focus on the things that give you energy, because you start to meet people, you start to have conversation, you start to go to places that would help you start to figure out or work towards that dream. And eventually, we can all start to live a life that we were born to live. As you know, this is what I live for. I want you to live your best life. I'm working on my goals to live my own best life. And if you like videos like this, if you've enjoyed videos like this, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up. And as usual, follow me on my Instagram at VMAT for regular and live updates. Until I come back to your screen again, it's your girl, VMAT. Bye-bye. We're recording live from Paris, and you guys go?
Hello.
Good.